Today, PayPal begins rolling out its US dollar-backed stablecoin.
There is some troubling news to the hundreds of millions of global active users that PayPal just released their stablecoin to. The PayPal stablecoin can be frozen. Your assets can be frozen. This was launched yesterday to PayPal's over 430 million global active users. And while we gave you the broad strokes in yesterday's video, today we dig deeper into the code and we can see, plain as day, PayPal will have the ultimate control of your money. And there's actually a few different takeaways in the code that you should know. So the PayPal stablecoin contract, number one, is written in an extremely old version of Solidity, that's Ethereum's native programming language. Number two, allows the owner to pause all transfers. 3, allows the owner to freeze addresses to prevent actions. And 4, allows admins to increase the total supply at will. So centralized, but transparent at least. And each of these have very different meanings to you and me, but just this form of control in general reminds me of this clip right here of the Deputy Managing Director of the IMF sharing how central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, would allow the government to precisely control what people can and cannot spend their money on.
The third way we think CBDC can improve financial inclusion is through what we call programmability. That is, CBDC can allow government agencies and private sector players to program, to create smart contract, to allow targeted policy functions. For example, welfare payment. For example, consumption coupon. For example, food stamp. By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized. For example, for food. So this potential programmability can help government agencies to precisely target their support to those people who need support. So that way can also improve financial inclusion.
And one by one, what does this all mean? For example, what's the big deal that they're using an older version of Solidity? Well, PayPal stablecoin is written in Solidity 0.4.24. And what's the issue with that? Well, it's unnecessarily expensive for the end user, not to mention being way behind best practices. Also, it's a proxy contract, meaning they can upgrade the code logic at any time. And for those of you who don't believe that PayPal would ever unjustly freeze assets only to bad guys, or pause all transfers only to bad guys, let's not forget last year. I'm old enough to remember when PayPal threatened their users with a $2,500 fee for posting misinformation online. Their stablecoins must be different, right? And while PayPal's new stablecoin will help people, for example, here's the CEO of PayPal a few months ago.
I actually think DLT is extraordinarily interesting. I think the rails of our financial system are quite antiquated, and we need to upgrade them one way or another. Like, it should never take 72 hours to be able to access your funds or have multiple intermediaries between a transaction that raises the cost of that transaction, and for it to cost you, 800 basis points, for that transaction. The poorer you are, the more expensive it is for a transaction is completely backwards. If you put into place a stablecoin or CBDC or something based on some form of new technology, you could create systems that are about 1/1000th the cost of today and instantaneous.
And by the way, you should assume that all centralized stablecoins can do this, can freeze your assets. Still, the launch is hugely positive as it further helps the world move into crypto, and from centralized crypto, people discover and become familiar with decentralized crypto. I think that this not only puts a cryptocurrency wallet into the pockets of over 435 million global active users, but also it's great marketing. Because as people are forced to learn what a stablecoin is, I think they'll naturally ask, okay, well, how is Bitcoin different? Oh, Bitcoin is permissionless. It's decentralized. There's a hard capped supply. And this PayPal stablecoin, well, it's easier for transactions, but that's about it. Altcoin news. Coinbase's layer 2 chain Base taps Chainlink ahead of the mainnet. So Base is integrating Chainlink's price feeds to simplify their integration of popular DeFi applications on the new blockchain. So why did Base choose Chainlink? Well, this tool streamlines the integration of DeFi protocols, including externally connected DeFi applications such as lending and borrowing protocols and derivatives markets. In a direct quote from the head of Base, the native integration of Chainlink price feeds into Base will enable developers with the tools they need to port existing applications over to Base and empower them to experiment with novel use cases that can be built on Base's hyper-scalable Layer 2 environment. So a huge green flag for the value prop of Chainlink. And according to Chainlink's chief business officer, he says, this integration of Chainlink price feeds into Base's Layer 2 blockchain is more than just a technical integration. It's a strategic alignment of vision and values. Major news involving Binance and El Salvador. As you can see from the picture, a deal has been struck. And Binance receives a license to offer Bitcoin and digital asset services in El Salvador. And by the way, that's an old pic of CZ meeting the president. But the news today is fresh. Binance received 2 licenses to operate in El Salvador. The Central Bank of El Salvador granted Binance a Bitcoin Service Provider BSP license, while the Salvadorian National Commission of Digital Assets issued a non-provisional Digital Asset Service Provider license, DASP. So if you like Binance, you love this, and the crypto exchange now says it holds licenses to operate in 18 total countries. An update for you on the SBF trial. Feds still plan to charge Sam Bankman-Fried with campaign finance violations. Prosecutors had dropped their campaign finance charge against SBF back in July, but I guess the Department of Justice is not done with that charge. The DOJ said today that in addition to moving forward with the 7 other criminal charges from the original indictment, prosecutors will include the alleged illegal finance scheme in another charge. In a direct letter to the judge, it read, "The government writes to notify the court and the defendant that it plans to seek a superseding indictment next week that will contain the 7 counts that the government intends to prove a trial in October, which were the first 7 charges of the original indictment." This is an ongoing story. Click subscribe. You do not want to miss a video. And use code Altcoin Daily for 10% off your ticket for Bitcoin Amsterdam. We'll be there. Gonna be awesome. Link down below.